So yeah, welcome again. Let me just introduce ourselves before we start right away with the AMA session. You can ask all the questions you want. Feel free to unmute yourself. We have a quite small round in Zoom and some viewers on YouTube. We will be answering whatever question you have. And before that, again, we will share just a brief introduction so that everyone is on the same page. And you also get to know us a bit better. So, right, this is about the BFG Superstars program. To really briefly sum it up, who we are, what we do. Here is a slide on essentially our track record. Basically, to sum it up, we are a venture capital investor. We do two things. On the one hand side, we invest directly in promising startups. And on the other hand side, we build them. And we built them within the BFG Superstars incubation program. Up until today, since 2016, we have invested in over 45 startups in the Web3 space. Our incubator is covering everything from legal to market validation and, of course, company building. To also give you a brief impression on how it works. Usually it's quite straightforward. You don't have to have an idea. You don't have to have a team. What matters to us is basically that the founder has firepower and the founder is motivated and has the potential to raise, $1 million company. And we will do our best to help you, to support you in that within the program as advisors, as people grant you access to a vast network of Web3 professionals, to give you also access to the market, to talk to relevant players, to show you some tactics on how to be, present in the market and position yourself to the most efficient and, to a very high potential way. Our focus areas are, quite diverse. Anything that is Web3 related is of interest to us. But of course, we need to anticipate what's going to be hot in the coming months. And we do see, intersections in various angles. And therefore, we try to, also anticipate what's going to be in the trend. Before you start with the program, and let's say you don't have an idea, we have a quite big catalog of potential ideas that we think will be promising. So don't worry about that. What you should be asking yourself prior to joining us is whether you have, the potential and the time and the commitment to raise $1 million company, right? That's the most crucial point we need to be asking ourselves. Briefly also to our team, we are a combination of industry professionals, lawyers, serial entrepreneurs, and also from the venture capital side, board of directors. You might know some of them, quite famous in the European space, particularly in the German-speaking areas. On the right-hand side are executive partners who manage also the firms headquartered in Liechtenstein and Germany. On the operations side, I'm very proud to present to you this team here, consisting also of myself and here my colleagues, Zheng, Melissa, all around the world in Germany, Singapore. I myself are in South Korea, and also Yona, who is actually in Peru. So quite diverse. This is also an overview of our advisors. Advisors nowadays, a lot of people call themselves advisors, but here in this slide, we have a very proud set of advisors that will be hands-on with our ventures. They will help you, advise you, and potentially also offer you any support hands-on to build your venture successfully. Feel free to also check them out. Everything that I present here is also on the website, so feel free to check it out and get a first impression of who are actually behind us. And now, most interesting part is the incubator, right? What do we do? Essentially, you can imagine you have an idea, you have maybe not an idea, maybe you're a solo founder, and essentially within 2 to 3 months, you will be able to found your legal entity, right? Your crypto venture, and become a CEO of your own startup. You will receive from us access to validate your idea very fast. You will get access to our network. And on top of that, we will fund you with a small compensation so that you can also not worry about, daily expenses. Also, some numbers. We have published a lot of research articles. We know in depth about the industry. We are all crypto natives within the team, within Blockchain Founders Group. We have done many podcasts with experts in the field. We have done interviews with customers, with potential users of various use cases. We have validated over 100 ideas over the past cohorts with various founders, and we have a very huge talent pool. Today, we can mark our 15th investment in a crypto startup within the cohort. So in total, we have had 3 cohorts. From each cohort, we have on average invested in 5 teams. How does the cohort work? Again, it's a 10 to 12 weeks program. You apply, we check it, we onboard you, and then you have 10 weeks of building your potential product. And in the end, you will pitch and have the chance to get 60,000 euros in exchange for equity. So you get money, access network to our network and our investors, and we get equity in return. And in the end, right, you will also enjoy, of course, a lifetime membership of the BFG family. You will be invited to on-site events in Germany. You will participate in workshops and continuous development support of your future startup. Just also here an example of who we look at, right? You can, so first of all, right, we are remote first, we are international first. We don't care where you are. We don't care, we don't force you to be on site. What we care is you, right? The founder. You have to have the potential to raise $1 million company, and you need to be able to show the commitment that you are willing to take what's needed to grow your business. We offer quite attractive terms. I already see some questions regarding that, but yes, we will take around 4 to 10% on average of your venture. This is quite flexible. It's always open to discussion. You name a valuation and we will invest accordingly. That's how we do it. So a lot of flexibility on your term. Nothing is fixed, not even in a contract. So a lot of founders first principles and conditions. On this slide, you can also see, people come from various backgrounds, right? Peter was a student before he joined. He's still a student, finalizing his studies. We have people from, 10 years of experience, 8 years of experience, ex-founders, right, ex-entrepreneurs with successful exits. So anyone really is considered, right? You can be a first-time founder, but also a serial entrepreneur. And finally, again, in the past cohorts, we have received over 500 applications. We've seen over 100 founder teams, and again, invested in 15 of those. Please feel free to scan in this QR code to check out the website and apply accordingly. You have to apply so that we have a first viewing, and then we will reach out to you ASAP, potentially end of this month. So now I want to pause here to answer some questions. So again, you can unmute yourself, but I also see some questions in the chat. So what is the capital to equity ratio? Again, so this is right depending on what you quote as a valuation. Some people say, okay, after the program, my company is valued at 1 million, and if we invest 60K, then that's 6%, right? So it's really up to how you performed during the program, how you performed and grew your business, and that will then depend and decide the valuation. Yakshai, you have a question? We can't hear you. No, can't hear you. You feel free, maybe fix it first. Filippo, you want to ask your question?
Hello, I am now audible.
Oh yeah. Now you can hear you.
Yeah. So my question is regarding that we are already having one customer into B2B insurance, and with one live case study already. we want looking into going into micro insurance, so it is using blockchain technology. So how much is there the way that you also going for B2B, or only you're going into B2C segment right now?
Yeah, very interesting. So I see you are now post MVP, or in the midst of having and presenting your MVP to validate also product market fit. That's also a stage we look at, also a vertical and stage that we definitely consider investing, right? So if that's not, maybe you are too far, right? If you are too far and we see that there's a strong product market fit and you've proven that with enough traction, then we can of course skip the whole incubation process and invest directly, right? That's also possible. Again, we are both investors, direct investors, but also an incubator, right? So depending on the stage, we will make a decision. Very good. Then Filippo.
Hi, nice to meet you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Fantastic, thank you. So I have two questions. One is, you mentioned that there is a possibility to be funded up to 60K at the end of the program, so only pitching and potentially getting it at the end. What does that mean with regard to the incubation program itself? I mean, like, so what does that mean? Like, we're getting a small part and then afterwards we get the possibility to actually do that? That's the first question, because at the end of the day, that's yeah. And the second thing is, you now explained also that you could fund directly. So in relation to that and to my first question, it's basically, how much of, are you looking into the history? Like, are you taking into account the history of a person's? So for example, I have my own business. I'm actually advising for real, and have already a successful business as a solopreneur. Are you going to be looking at those revenues to be able to say, okay, if that person wants to productize his or her work, and take it from a solo to something that's scalable, are you going to be looking at that and then investing directly into that straight away? Or you see what I mean? So that's the kind
100%. 100%. So, it's, even though we call it program, right, it's super flexible, right? We had teams that went into the program, went in 6 weeks in, and then they received funding, right? So it really depends on your performance, right? If you're ready, then we're ready, and we can evaluate whether we will invest. If you still need some time and the program is over, then feel free to also build on it longer and then pitch in front of us maybe 4 weeks after the end of the program. So we're really, really flexible. Nothing is set in stone. And I hope that answers. And of course, we look at your track record. If you have a product and you want to make a startup out of it and scale it up, then we will challenge it, and then we will try to find a way to make that happen.
And what about the actual funding during the program itself? You said like you're gonna get. So how does that? What is the amount more or less, so we can understand?
Yes,
range?
So we do have a fixed rate. Our entrepreneurs during the program get 2,000 euros per month for everything, whatever you can do with it, whatever you want. You can use it however you want, and it's also not repayable or anything like that. Yeah, perfect. All right, then Obongophone.
Hello, good morning from here. Please, I want to ask, on the second stage of the program, I have seen that we are going to be guided by the mentors on this platform. So I want to know the level of guidance. Is it going to be like a boot camp? Do the mentors, are they guiding us on our projects and then have a one-on-one assessment of what we are doing and approve it and correct it for us?
Definitely. So the various kinds of advisors and mentors, but you will have your own mentor who will be on with you one-on-one, giving you very intensive and frequent advice on whatever you do. So you can even do it daily.
Okay, thank you so much. Secondly, based on the fund that will be given to those that emerge, what's going to be the responsiveness of the builders to the funding organization? For example, if you give us a 60K and then we build our platform, our blockchain projects, do we need to be responsible or accountable to the organization over the years?
You have to of course, manage the money, right? But there's nothing that you need to, there's no like reporting obligation or anything like that. So in case we fund you, the money is yours and you are free to, assess however you want to manage it.
Okay, and finally, I want to ask if there is if the platform is has so much interest in Africa. I've already seen that the organization is international. It doesn't have bias, but I want to say, do you have a kind of specific or a special package or kind of this thing for Africa?
We did actually invest in two African-based companies before. Quite interesting. There's not like any specific package. It's really founder focused. You do the decision, and if we believe you, then we'll put money into your hands.
Okay, why I'm asking, because I am at the entry level. I'm a recent graduate of blockchain technologies, and then I'm at the entry level. I've not built something before, but I've learned those skills. So that is why I need a lot of guidance from the mentors.
Yeah, definitely. We believe in first-time founders. Definitely, there must be a level of learning curve that we need to observe, but if it's there, anyone could succeed.
All right, thank you so much.
Welcome. Thank you for the questions. We have another question from YouTube. Do we have to be a startup or only working on an idea? We can submit. Yeah, so you don't have to have an idea fixed. You don't have to be a founded legal entity. You can actually join as a solo entrepreneur, just wanting to start something, right? Because we also have a sprint where we go about ideation, finding an idea, and then really quickly validate it. All right, then some more questions. This presentation will be recorded. It will be also uploaded on YouTube. Okay, we do have a prototype, waitlist of 1,000 customers, currently about to close about 1 million. Yes, that would be a perfect example, right? We could consider exactly this. This is exactly the stage that we look at. Anything around pre-MVP to MVP, post-MVP, that's the stage we look at. So definitely that would be something we would consider.
Hello.
Yes, Kanak.
Yeah, Max, just I have a two question because I have already two pitch deck ready, and there one project they have already raised the $30,000 and second project they have already on had 20,000. Everything is ready, MVP and all this. It is already open for the pre-sale. So in that regards, BFG Group, how that can be help for this raising the fund?
Yeah, you could apply and then we'll see. So obviously we can do incubation. We could ramp up and help you scale up as well, if that answers the question.
Okay, so I've been the co-founder for that both of the projects. So I can apply for this both pitch deck. Yeah, individual they need to apply for that.
Yes, but only one application, right? Because yeah.
Okay, no problem. So when it will be going to start for the 3 months program?
It starts, so the official start is the around March. I think it's March 1st or mid of March.
Okay, so you will give the notification before that, no?
Yes, if you apply, we will.
Okay, no problem. Sure. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you for the question. All right, then there's another question. Is there a talent pipeline for professionals with experience in the blockchain space that are not ready to found a startup? Yes, if you are not looking to found your startup, but you want to be involved, feel free to also apply as an open candidate. But for that, you don't have to fill out the form. You can just send an email to me and then we'll take a look. Definitely. Because in the end, right, we fund the startups, and usually it takes 2 to 3 months. They will build, and at some point they want to expand their team, and then this sort of talent pipeline will be relevant because they need to hire workforce for their startups. And there's another question: will the mentorship be based solely on the blockchain part of the startup, or will it include operations, marketing? It will include everything. We have various different mentors focusing on different parts. So definitely we can help in all areas: legal, marketing, operations. However, what we also believe in, there are certain functions and responsibilities that only the founder can do, where we can advise, but we cannot, like, for example, we cannot go onto the interview calls and do the interview for you. I think that's obvious. Then, okay. Another question: can we get the 60,000 pre-seed funding in USDC? That might be tricky. I think it, might be possible, but unlikely as of now. We still, the VC world is still a bit traditional. We need to have the bank transfers. We need to have the bank slip to prove that we made the transaction. So not sure whether we can send out tokens. But if the startup is very promising and we want to invest, we will find a way to make this happen, and then maybe we can find a way to send our first transaction with USDC. All right, what is the criteria of acceptance? A very good question, very hard question, very qualitative. So it really depends on how you perform with the form application, right? You need to submit and answer some questions. Most of the questions are qualitative, so we will evaluate based on that. But to sum it up, to also go a bit deeper, we try to identify high potential entrepreneurs, right? You can maybe read on it online. What is the optimal entrepreneur? What are the qualities of an entrepreneur? And we try to exactly identify that, right?
All right, thank you.
Thank you for the question. Then, if we receive funding from another investor in the meantime, will you still consider to onboard our startup? Honestly, that is what we always say is, as a founder, you need to think for your startup first, right? And let's say BFG invests at 1 million, at a valuation of 1 million, and there's an investor that comes around and says, look, I want to invest, but your startup is not worth 1 million, it's worth 5 million. I want to invest at 5 million, not 1 million. In that case, you should go for the better offer. Of course, you should take the 5 million offer, because you give away less percentages, right? So I would definitely do that. But what you have to do is you have to offer BFG the chance to invest. So you should go to BFG and say, look, I received this offer for 5 million. Do you want to also jump into this round? So I think that would be fair, but it's, in the end of the day, it's your choice. And you should always go for the better offer. All right. Are you funding only blockchain development projects or any Web3 projects like NFTs, DeFi, Metaverse, etc.? Anything that's related to Web3, we'd be interested in. As long as there's potential, as long as you can argue that there's a market, we would consider it. All right. Can I apply with my team members, or must I apply alone? You can apply alone, right? And then add your team members into the questionnaire. There's a field that asks who else is in your team, and then you just add the details there, and they don't have to like type in the same questions and answers. Can we apply with multiple startup ideas? So no, you apply once, right? In that one application, you try to put the best idea, right? But again, the idea is secondary. What we want to see is that the founder is, that the founder has the potential to run a business. So the idea again is secondary, and also what you might know already is the idea will change 4 to 5 times during the program, during even the each stage. So by the time you reach Series A, your idea is like has pivoted maybe 10 times already. So again, it's really about how you think, how logically you can think, how you have operated in the past, what you have achieved, and that's really what matters to us. All right, let's see, any more questions? Again, feel free to unmute yourself if you have any questions. Perfect. Okay, for startups creating other Web3 startups, would you incubate the main startup or just pick one of the entities created? Honestly, we don't believe in founders with multiple ideas. It just doesn't work. If you want to raise $1 million company, you cannot have a full-time job on the side. You cannot have 2 startups that you run at the same time. If we invest, and you know, I can also tell that to you now, any future investor will not participate in a follow-on round if you have something on the side that's contractually fixed, right? You cannot do anything on the side, and investors are very strict about it. So we want to enforce it early on. If we invest, nothing else can be done, and you have to focus fully on that startup. But that doesn't mean that you have to quit right away, like your job or anything. You could participate during the program while having something else running. That's totally fine. But by the time we invest, we would expect you to quit and focus fully on the startup. And we have seen that in the past. In the past, people have done their full-time job on the side and then participated within the program. It worked, and then by the time we made a decision, we expect them to quit, and then they quit. All right, then let's see. Is the program completely remote or is it face-to-face? It is completely remote, but we have one, it's also voluntary. We have one, we call it Family Day, where we invite everyone around the world to join us in Germany, and then we will have the face-to-face interaction, mainly with investors, with advisors, but also with Zheng, me, and the others in the team, Melissa as well. We'll also fly in and then get to know you personally. What is the trial period about? Would we be asked to complete certain tasks? Exactly. So the trial period is for you, but also for us, right? We need to check whether you can work with us in this fully remote setup, because not everyone wants to have a fully remote setup. Some want to have personal interaction. Some founders need it. And we want to see whether you can succeed with this sort of asynchronized time zone or whatever setup it is. We need to see that it works. And if it works, then we jump into the crunch mode, into the real main phase. And therefore, the trial period is 2 weeks long. And that's where you have to perform and convince us that you're the right person. Now is a good time to briefly jump into this slide, because this shows essentially how we are structured. We have, again, 12 weeks. In the first 2 weeks, we have the sort of case studies. Case studies are all about essentially sales, growing a company, some tactical, workshops, and then you will present something which solves the case study. And then we will move very, very quickly to validating the idea with deep research. And then we will prepare for the public presence. And by the time at the 11th week, we will go live, right? We don't believe in researching too long. You should research a bit, come to the conclusion, and then you should go live as soon as possible, because what matters is market demand. What matters is market reaction. If there's nobody wanting your product, then we can stop right away and we will be able to observe that quite early on. And then, yeah, we have some workshops around legal entity foundation. We will advise on that contractually, also setup, tax, and all that. And then it goes all about the pre-seed pitch, and then we will decide whether we will fund your venture. Let's see. Some more questions. What is the amount of commitment? How often will we meet during the program? So, this also very depends. We have weekly sessions. We have, I think those are 3 weekly sessions that you need to attend to, like around 2 hours, 1 to 2 hours per session. That's the mandatory part. And the rest of the time, you're quite free to develop on your own. We have seen in the past that, obviously if you have a full-time job, let's say 40 hours, then we estimate that you have around 10 to 20 hours maximum to spend on working on your startup idea. It works with some people, it does work with others. Usually it doesn't work, but if it works, then you are definitely a high performer. So as long as you get the job done and you are able to grow and validate an idea, we don't care how much time you put in, right? But our gut feeling and from the past experience, usually you have to have at least 20 hours per week to spend. All right, for legal entity formation, would we be headquartered in Europe or Delaware, especially if we want to raise follow-on rounds from non-European investors? Quite flexible, right? We can choose Germany because we have the experience in Germany or Central Europe. But we also, for example, funded a startup in India. We funded a startup in Africa, right? So really flexible. If you want to do it in Dubai, feel free, right? Can we have this presentation? Yes, you can have the presentation. I can send out an email after this.
Max, just I have one simple question. Suppose if you are getting the application of the 40 application, and out of 30 application from this Central Europe, so how, and some application from the other part of the world like the India and this US and Africa. So how can get the analysis which one be qualified for this seed funding, because you will give the most priority for the Central Europe. So that's a simple question. Just I'm very curious about
Yeah. We will contact you, right? I cannot answer the question right away. You need to apply, and then we'll evaluate all participants, all applications, and we'll reach out to you as soon as possible.
Yeah. Thank you.
Welcome. Who is responsible for this for the technical development of the startups? You, definitely you, or your co-founder, or your CTO, whoever it is. You need to make sure that it's developed, right? Nobody can do it for you. Or in other words, we don't have a technical development team that could do it for you, if that was the question. And we don't really believe in that. We believe that the optimal team consists of a CEO and a CTO. If you are joining as a solo entrepreneur, we will make sure that you get a CTO by the time you need him or her. So that shouldn't be a big problem. We have had teams in the past, again, that joined as a solo entrepreneur, and during the program they onboarded a CTO that would then develop the sort of prototype for them or with them. But maybe also to go into detail here, why don't we believe in outsourcing technical developments? Because we have seen it in the past, and you risk that that you get dependent by that agency that develops your technical product, right? Because usually everyone has their own style of coding. And by the time the agency leaves, the prototype basically gets useless, and you have to do everything from scratch again. So in the best case, you try to onboard a CTO as soon as possible. That would then keep all the IP with you as well, and also make adjustments, because agencies usually charge per adjustments as well. Okay, then how do you do the matching process within the program if I apply alone? You can definitely match within the program. So again, we will take around 50 participants as founders, and some in the best case, you have a CTO person, you have a CEO person, and they just find each other during the program. That's definitely possible. We can help with that as well. And in other cases, if you cannot find anyone within the cohort, you can go out and we will activate our network and then make sure that you get your co-founder accordingly. Very good. Also here, in case you're looking for our contacts, again, feel free to contact me anytime if you need any more if you have any more questions, or if you need any more information, feel free to text me. For development, do we need to focus on a specific blockchain, or is it open to any? Quite open to any, right? If you can argue and you want to build on Polygon, please do so. If you believe that on a Polkadot is the right way, then you could also do that. All right. What's my email? My email address is right here. What is so special and different about BFG Superstars compared to other incubation programs? I think what's special with BFG Superstars is that we are 100% crypto native. You only see a few in the whole world that are actually coming from Web3. Most of them are actually from Web2, and then try to also cover now Web3 opportunities. But we are coming from Web3. We have been in Web3 since 2016, so quite intensively involved within the scene for very long. We're quite reputable in the European space, especially in the German-speaking countries. Very well connected, and therefore that should speak for us, right? You will get access to a very centralized and very specific target within the European space. Excellent. I think if there are no more questions, for now, thank you for joining in.
Max, I have one final question, sorry.
Okay, sure.
It just popped in my mind. So we are a small team of volunteers, like 4 or 5 in our team. So the question here is, when we apply for this project, we would like to apply as a team. But is it mandatory that all the team members participate in all your activities, or we can maybe like nominate a representative from our side? Because we have all professional different levels of commitments, right? So you need to balance time and other stuff as well. So is it possible that we nominate one of our team member who regularly participates in your all your mandatory virtual events, but the activities are done as a team? Would that be also possible?
Definitely. You can be the rep, and actually we encourage that, right? Because we only want the sort of CTOs and the decision makers in these workshops and in these calls, and then it's your job to manage the team. It doesn't make sense to have the graphic designer in these calls, because he will be just bored. Probably.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Max.
Welcome. Then okay, one last question: does BFG do follow-on funding aside BFG Superstars? Yes. Again, we are direct investors besides our incubation program, but honestly, we don't really believe in follow-on rounds. This really depends, right? But an argument could be that if we also do the follow-on rounds as solo investors, then people could argue that the team couldn't find any other investors, right? That would be sort of not confident. So what we try to do is try to get other investors involved. But worst case, we could also, of course, do follow-on runs. Or, of course, if we believe in the team very much, then of course we want to become solo investors, right? So really depends. But most of the times, especially this early, the team might want to have strategic investors, strategic outside investors, right? So really depends. But essentially, to answer this question, yes, we could do follow-on rounds. Since we're so no dilute or dilute regarding the 6%, since we're the first investors, that would be non-diluted, right? But from that on, obviously it would dilute. Okay, then again, thanks everyone for joining in. Hopefully we can stay in touch. If any more questions pop up, feel free to text me on LinkedIn or directly on my email. Otherwise, yeah, thanks again for joining in, and hopefully we see some applications from you in the coming weeks. Thank you.
Thanks,
See
Max.
you. Bye.
Thanks. Thank you, Max and Young.